So today I wanted to talk a little bit about American Dreamers. American Dreamers is a portrait book, portraits of Americans, portraits that were taken while out on the road as a family traveling the United States. Kind of the American family road trip with a purpose, the purpose of introducing our children to as many different types of Americans as possible, ones that had lived here for generations, ones that had just come here for whatever reason, and to learn those reasons and to learn a little bit about them personally, and to give our kids a strong foundation of understanding different people and different reasons for deciding to live in the United States, And again, today, I find a lot of those feelings are back with me, and it's on my mind, and I thought I'd talk about it and share why we did that trip, why we made this book. I was really inspired by what our senator from New Jersey did recently in making the longest speech in U.S. Senate history. I thought that was a great action, and maybe was one of the strongest forces in getting me to sit down here today and talk about what I had been feeling lately myself. I believe as he, I think, believes that, not one of us or one of our actions is going to wholly change the country or the world to be, some idyllic place, but each of us do have the power to affect change in ourselves and in those around us who we come into immediate contact with. I want that to happen again. I feel the need, I feel the desire to connect with people around the country, around the world, to share myself, my family as an American, to learn more about, my fellow Americans or fellow citizens of the world who, are wondering things about us, about our country, and why we make certain decisions. I guess it's important to talk a little bit about why we took the trip, what the trip was, our intentions. We traveled the United States as a family for close to a year. That's a lot as a family, living in a van, driving day in, day out. Every day you open your door and you greet the morning and you're in a new place, new experiences, new challenges, new joys. It's exciting for sure. It was probably, the best year of my life. It wasn't without its challenges. Definitely there were things, or times and places when we were all tired, when we were exhausted, when it was dark, when I didn't know where we were going to safely park our car for the night and, go undisturbed and go to sleep in the van. But the reward was great and the reward was huge. And most days we were excited, we were out there alone in the world as a family, sharing and learning and seeing and meeting people firsthand. Time has passed since then. We've seen evidence that, it was a worthwhile experience, from the simple fact of just having made great friends on the road, having learned so much, having our children have a wealth of real experiences to draw on in their day-to-day life as they're growing into, younger men and young adults. Their teachers have spoken to me over the years, at back-to-school nights or whatever. Hey, you did some sort of a trip with your kids. I don't know exactly what it was, but it seemed to have had a profound effect on them. Things like that. It really make me realize that, this was worth it. And I guess as, our Senator Cory Booker was feeling, that's how I'm feeling now when talking about it and sharing it. Because the purpose of it was not just for us to do something, but hopefully to inspire others to do something, whatever that is. We all, I think, have something that we'd like to do, something that we'd like to see change, something that we'd like to experience. And I think to inspire people to do that in whatever manner that seems important to them. We went on the road as a family and we lived in our van for a year, and we met people, we photographed people, we talked to people. I put those photographs into a book, American Dreamers. Your vision of what you want to do might be totally different, but just knowing that we did it and we can do it and we did something, we affected change. Hopefully that inspires others and becomes an ignition point for others to do whatever it is that they find important. That's kind of why I'm talking about American Dreamers today. And like I said, it's a portrait book. It's probably about 250 portraits of Americans. They're pretty straight ahead portraits. One of my philosophies is that, just let photography be photography, simply and accurately capture and represent things. You don't always have to exert your technique or your expertise in lighting or, how to compose something. So while we were on the road, I just took really simple, straightforward portraits of Americans who we met and who we had interaction with. The camera wasn't always at the forefront of our introduction to people. Often it would be as simple as talking to someone about directions or being lost or where to eat or, introducing ourselves. And if some sort of real connection or conversation came up, then the camera would come out and we would make a quick portrait. And that's kind of how we went about it. But the goal was really simple, and it was just to meet people and introduce ourselves to people and see what we came away with. And that proved to be what I feel a successful action for us, and outside of the goals that we had for the trip in that way, I think it was also beneficial as a parent to show your children that, you can have an idea, even if it seems like a crazy idea. Get out of school, drive around the country, we're going to make a book. But to have that idea, to put it into action, to do it, and then to physically have a book at the end of all of that, and to have release parties, signings, and people show up, buy the book, get the book signed. That was another aspect of it, which to me was hugely rewarding, to get to share, with the boys that you can do something if you have an idea and you're willing to do it and work at it and put yourself out there. It can be completed. And I guess that brings me back to today and to talking about it. I don't really know what's the best place to start or what's the most interesting point of view, but hopefully through starting this and talking about it, I'll come up with more ideas, and maybe people watching this might be interested to know, where did we sleep, where did we shower, how do you live as a family on the road, what was it like getting your kids in and out of school, what route did you take, what was your favorite place. That's all relevant and good stuff to talk about, If I do some continuing ones, I think one thing that might be neat to do is just read some of my journal entries, which would share my experiences while out there on the road. I would get up, I'd try to do it every morning, but most mornings, I'd get up, I'm an early riser, and before anyone else would wake up in the van, I'd try and jot down just some of my memories, feelings, how the pictures went, what we did. And so I may just read some of those moving forward, just to share a little bit more about the journey itself and how it was affecting me, because I think that's valuable. But again, I really just want to have a dialogue, a conversation with people, and that's the point of doing this today. And we'll see where it goes, and we'll see if we continue these talks. But at least for now, we got this far, and we'll see where it goes.